I talked to Eddie. We probably did a podcast 3 years ago.
Yeah, about 3.
May have been 4 by now. I don't even know. But I remember how vividly I was on the phone with him, and he was telling me about tennis and all kind of good stuff. But I won't get into that. So I'm excited that he's here today. Mary Stewart Nelson is sponsoring us here today. She is in the back over there. I'll let her come out later on maybe. So really excited. So with that being said, Eddie, here we go, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you. All right. So my name is Eddie Simonet, multifamily investor. Started back in 2016, just learning anything I can about real estate. And my background, you know, I'm originally from the Bahamas. So if y'all hadn't heard yet, I have a little bit of accent with me. But yeah, from the Bahamas. I'm from an island called Nassau. It's about 21 miles, so we have a little quick joke. You know, if you drive too quick, you know, you may go across and go in the ocean, right? So, but yeah, that's where I'm from. So basically, just growing up, my family had some experience with real estate. So everyone, even if they wasn't a real estate professional, they basically knew the value of having rental properties. So my granddad, he actually built his house, and he could have just built like a great 4 or 5 bedroom house, but instead he decided to, you know, build like a 4 unit. There's a main unit where everyone stays in, and we had apartments. And I mean, even from early beginnings, he saw the value of, you know, having passive income, and it's helped out our family a lot. So I mean, that's been just my granddad, and then also my aunt is the same way. You know, so basically all of my family have done something small in real estate. So growing up, I kind of saw the value of like owning rental properties. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really get started into it until after I went to college. So I used to play tennis. So John was just telling you about that. So I used to play tennis. So I knew if I wasn't going to be like a tennis pro, I was going to try to do something business-wise, right? So basically, I got a scholarship to go to play tennis in Tuscaloosa, Alabama at Stillman College. So that's how I ended up in Alabama, because I get that question all the time, right? But I love it. I mean, Alabama's been great to me, right? So studied business administration and accounting, and basically, you know, in school, I mean, I was great at it, but I knew it was something that I didn't really want to do, you know, for the rest of my life. There's like one particular class that really stood out to me. I asked my professor, because we was doing the QuickBooks stuff, I said, hey man, like, if I be an accountant, is this how it's gonna be every day? Like, I'm gonna just be on the computer like all the time, just crunching numbers? He was like, yeah, Eddie, that's probably what's gonna be, but you're good at it. But in my head, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. But in my head, I was just like, you know what? This ain't gonna be it. I gotta find something else. So I started looking into, you know, Forex, stocks, and all that stuff. It was like, you know, that get rich quick thing. Like me, I like stuff that I can see. You know, I like stuff that I can touch, right? I like stuff that I know is going to be there, you know, for a long period of time. So I eventually gravitated towards real estate. So it was just one of those quick events. I know you guys see them all the time. You know, 2-3 day events. You pay like $100, you go to them, and then basically they just talk to you about, you know, wholesaling, flipping, all that good stuff. For like 3 days, and they telling you, okay, you can learn everything you need, but it's so much information coming at you. It's like you leave the event, and then you're like, dude, like, how am I supposed to actually get started? I mean, am I supposed to do the wholesaling first? Am I supposed to do the fix and flip first? Am I supposed to do the rental first? So that's basically, you know, what I went to. And I mean, from the event, I mean, it wasn't really something I can learn to really apply just directly from that quick event, but I was able to network, right? So networking is extremely important. So I was, you know, y'all always heard that your network, I mean, your net worth is equal to your network, right? So I'm always big on just giving value. Even if it's something like I don't have money, I try to figure out like how would I be able to provide value for someone. And interning, right? So I met someone at the event, and basically from the event, they put me in they were with Keller Williams, so they was in Gardendale, and I came, and this is when I was in college, you know, my junior and senior year. So basically I would come up to Birmingham like twice a week, you know, about an hour commute. So twice a week I'd come up, and I'd just come in the office and I'd say, hey, what do you need me to do? Because I know I don't want to do this accounting thing, I want to figure out, you know, more about this real estate thing. So exactly like what do you need me to do? So that's how I kind of got into the Birmingham market. And from there, another mentor of mine, Denmark Properties, so they great folks. I had sent them an email because I had heard about them. I came up to some of the local events, heard about them, and I was like, okay, I'm just fresh out of college, and I didn't really know how the real estate thing works, so I actually sent them a professional resume, right? A professional resume, and then, but they was really cool, they let me know, like, hey, you didn't really have to send us that, but if you want to come help, just come and help, right? So that's what I did. Did that for a few months, and I was able to acquire my first rental property actually from them, right? So basically, these are the reasons why I like apartment investing, right? So cash flow is king. So at the end of the day, I mean, we can have a 6-figure job, right? You can make a ton of money from fix and flip, whatever you do, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to when you stop working, how are you gonna pay the bills, right? If something happened to you, what's gonna pay your monthly bills, right? That's what I always like to think about. And that's why cash flow is so important. I mean, even if you're making, a good amount from your job or whatever it is, that's bringing in a lot of money, you need to figure out a way to put that money into something passive. So even if it's single family, even if it's like a smaller multifamily, it's something that's better than nothing, right? So it's just about getting started. But one reason I really like large apartments is because, you have economies of scale. So basically with a duplex, or I'll just start with a single family. With a single family, is one opportunity for you to collect rent, right? So what's gonna happen when that one tenant don't pay you? At one tenant don't pay you, you go from 100% rent to 0, right? And what business do you know has one customer, right? Any business, I mean, you just think of, any business they're gonna have multiple customers. So I like to look at each property I invest in as a different business. So that's why I gravitated towards like the multifamily, because even at 2 units, I still have 2 chances to collect rent. So even if one person doesn't pay me, I can go from 50%, I can go from 100% collections to 50% collections. If you scale it up to a triplex or a fourplex, if you scale it up to a fourplex, one person don't pay you, you're still collecting 75% of your income. And then scale it up to if you own in a 36-unit apartment, like even if 8, 9 people don't pay me, I still have 90% of my revenue that's coming in, right? So that's really why I like it, that passive income. You can go on a trip, your business is basically gonna make money without you having to be there day to day, right? So that's why I like that. So just tying into my experience, I started out wholesaling, so I did it the wrong way. Everyone say you gotta find your buyer first. Coming from like school, I got in touch with like the Forex stuff, the stock stuff. I didn't think it was real, so with the real estate stuff, I was like, how am I supposed to get my foot in the door, right? So I didn't have a buyer first, and I just went and found a property. So, I mean, basically, I found a property, and then, $500 is about how much I made from the wholesale. It took about like 2 to 3 months, and it was like $500. So I was like, that was like a big like buzzkill for me. I was like, okay, I don't know if I want to be doing this. I need to find something else. So luckily, like the mentors I had, I got my first property from them. So it was a duplex, bought it on seller finance, because at the time I was like 22, and there's really like no way I could have gotten like a conventional bank loan, like, because I don't have a job, right? So I had to find like a creative way to get into business. So seller finance is how I did it. So the property was $40K, I put 20 down, and I did a seller finance note for 9 years at 7.7% interest rate. So it kind of worked out to a monthly payment of $250. But at the time I was staying on 280, I was paying like $900 in rent, so I wanted to do this thing full time. So I was thinking, okay, how do I go about, even if I can't, how do I go about increasing my income and then lowering my expenses? So with the duplex, I said, okay, I can live in one side, and then $250, I mean, that's nothing. I can rent the other side for $565, and now you're staying for free. So now you can go from, having to figure out how you're going to pay a rent of like $900 to $1,000 a month, to now you're getting paid to live somewhere for like $100. Like, I get a check, I still live there today, I get a check, for about $120, $150 any given month just for living there after all my expenses and my mortgage. So, I mean, that was like the game changer for me. That's really what took me from having to go to do 1, 2, deals to pay my bills to where I can actually do this thing full time. So, I mean, it's all about sacrifices, right? Especially as a young person, it's all about like, what are you willing to sacrifice? At a young age, like, anywhere you at, like what are you willing to sacrifice, wherever you at in life. If you can take the suck and you can like slow down and try to focus on accumulating wealth versus like buying that new car or buying that big house, and you can just put that towards an investment, then you're really gonna set yourself up to where now, you know, you 5-10 years ahead of where you could have been. So that was my whole thing. So after I saw the duplex thing work, and I'm gonna point this out, so the wholesale deal was $500, right? And then on the duplex, I bought the property, and at closing, I get a check for like $900. So I was like, hold up now. Like, I didn't do nothing but buy this property. I didn't put on no bandit signs. I wasn't calling up, you know, hey, are y'all interested in purchasing this property? All I did was buy this thing. I acquired the asset. And from there, you know, now I get a check for like, you know, I think it's $900, you know, the first month's rent and security deposit. So that was like the light bulb for me. And after that, I was like, there's no way I'm doing anything else but this, right? I'm gonna focus on the end goal first. So most people, you know, you accumulate, you know, the money and then you buy the properties. I say, hey, if I can figure out a way to get the cash flow first, then everything else is going to fall into place. Because if something happened with the market, you know, if it's a slowdown or, you know, like what we had last year, or properties ain't selling, people still going to need a place to rent. Because at the end of the day, the people who have the luxury houses, you know, A, B class luxury houses, when they lose they property, where are they going to go to? They're looking for an apartment. I used to play tennis in school. So I had money that was set aside for my college. That's money that I was able to put towards my investments. So moving to Birmingham, I had about 6 months of living expenses saved up, but I also had about like 40K around there of capital that I could put towards real estate investments. So that's where the money came from on that, right? So that's how I did my first 2 deals, right? And then fast forward, I think like 2018, I partnered with 2 guys. We did a 32 and a 75 unit. I got a little bit of experience with the multifamily doing that, and then I got bought out, and then from the money I got from the buyout, and then also family members, I was able to purchase my first 36 unit. So all of these deals, like I said, was off market. It ain't one singular approach that I use to find deals. You know, it's a shotgun approach, like I like to say. So it's literally anything that works, right? Whether it be driving for dollars, whether it be just calling up sellers, sending mailers, literally going to the property, knocking on the tenant door and saying, hey, who's your landlord? I mean, I'm interested in the property. You ain't gotta say you're interested in purchasing. Just say, hey, I'm interested in the property, right? Who's your landlord? Can I get their number, right? And then you call up the landlord. You say, hey, introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm interested in possibly purchasing your property within the next, 3 to 5 years or sooner if you're interested, right? So that's how I was able to find these deals. It's just, you know, off market. So, all right. So right now, this is what I do. Right now I have a portfolio of 42 units, so I still got my 36 unit, and then I refinance on that property. So I'll just talk a little bit about the structure of that deal, right? So I bought it for $400K. At the time, I used a hard money loan. So if y'all ain't familiar with what a hard money loan is, it's basically a bridge loan that would allow you to purchase the property. You got to put down a larger amount of down payment. They're usually going to fund 100% of your rehab, and then you pay interest only until you finish with construction. And they usually lend you money on a draw basis. So after you meet certain thresholds in your project, you get to get a drawback. So that's how it works, right? So that's how I was able to get into the deal. And actually 2 months ago, I just refinanced on that. So it was about 2 years. It was a lot of hard lessons on that project. I bought it at 25% occupancy, ton of vacancies. I mean, it's in the Woodlawn, Kingston area. So I mean, it ain't nothing fancy, but I mean, y'all heard the price. I mean, $400K, you can't really beat that. Like in the Bahamas, $400K probably gets you, like a little small house. So I mean, for me, it was a no-brainer. Like, come on, like why not, right? So fast forward right now, I just refinanced it. I went with a local bank. It's a 20-year amortization, 4.75% interest rate. I was able to get finance it on that deal myself, so I didn't have to bring in a guarantor. It cash flowed enough, and I bought it so low to where it was enough NOI to where the bank they would lend me it. But I'd say it is a recourse loan, so if something happens with the property, you're on the hook for it, right? So that's why you want to make sure it's cash flowing, and you want to make sure that you buy stuff at a good price. So right now, I got a 48 unit deal, found it same way, off market, and it's under contract now. Closing is in September. And during my time holding the 36 unit, I actually started a management company. So I used to use third-party management, and the COVID stuff is really what changed it for me. So I said, I had about 2 weeks where I couldn't get anyone on the phone. Couldn't get anyone on the phone. Like right there in March between where all this COVID stuff happened. So, but 2 weeks, no one was picking up. I had rent units I had to fill. I had work orders. So me as an owner, I'm paying a management fee, and I'm having to go out to the property. So these are things like people don't tell you. Like, I mean, I do this stuff day to day. So this is just the real part of it, right? So I'm having to go out to property. I'm having to show units. I'm having to handle work orders. Get my workers to come and fix stuff. And I'm paying a management fee. So like me, I was just like, there's no way, like I have to figure this out, because at the time on my duplex and my 4 unit, I was managing that, myself at a smaller scale. So I was able to learn the nuances of it. I mean, the only difference is the door count. I mean, it's the same principles. How you collect rent, how you go about your work orders, how you handle tenant relations. I mean, all you're doing is scaling it up. So now that you have more doors, you probably can't take 42 calls a day. So now you need to start trying to find a resident property manager or someone that can fill that role. So it's not all about like doing everything yourself. That's not what we're here for. We're here for like financial freedom. We're here to enjoy the things in life that we want to do. But I mean, for me, it's all about sacrificing to get to that point. So. Luckily, I was able to bring on a property manager, and she's a rock star. I was able to bring on a maintenance tech. I mean, both of them fantastic, and they are like one of the reasons why the deal was so successful to me. Because had I not kept it in-house, I probably would have blown through my budget. Because I mean, if you're just outsourcing everything, I mean, the costs they add up, especially when you with a large amount of units. I mean, come on. I mean, so. Right now, this property put me at 90 units in Birmingham once it closes, and yeah, I'm pretty excited. So this is a little bit different from what I'm used to. I'm used to buying like properties that need more work. So this property, I'm buying it. It's 100% occupied. 98% occupied. There's one vacancy that's on the market right now, and it's rent ready, right? 1987 bill, so not really a bunch of major capex like what I'm used to. So this is just like a different change for me, and I found this one off market as well. Yeah, so I wanted to just talk about, because that's what we all trying to figure out, right? Like how to find good deals. So like I said earlier, it's all about like a shotgun approach. So $50 is like really what's it for me. That's really where most of my stuff comes from. And I've literally looked at probably over 500 apartments in Birmingham. I'm not exaggerating, from 2017 to now, probably 500 apartment complexes or more. And what's worked for me is just like old school, going on Google Maps, right? I find a zip code I like. Punch in the zip code. When you punch in the zip code, it's going to give you like an outline of the area. And since I'm looking for multifamily properties, it's easy for me to identify the properties because they got bigger roofs. So it's just like it's just old school stuff, right? So what I do is I would just go ahead and I would click on the property. It would have an address, and then I would put that into like the tax assessor or a Google search, or that's how I find it. And also the Secretary of State, if you can find out the LLC name, you can actually go on there, search the LLC, and then now it will give you the registered agent. It'll give you the mailing address. It'll give you all that stuff, and then now it's up to you to actually go mail them or go knock on their door. I mean, wholesalers do it like you can use the same principles to multifamily properties. They just people like me and you. I mean, they ain't nothing fancy. Actually, I prefer to work with business owners than like homeowners, because if I lowball a business owner, what they gonna tell me? They gonna say, okay, this is not gonna work for me. I'm gonna go with someone else. Y'all already know, because y'all, this is experience from you lowball a seller. What you gonna get? Oh, well, I've owned this property for years, so it's more emotional, right? So, I mean, for me, I actually prefer to work with the business owners. So, yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing that works for me. And also being persistent. So you may call one of these people from which you linked up with on Driving for Dollars, and they may say, hey, I'm not interested. But that's why I like to phrase it like this. I like to say, hey, my name is Eddie, just introduce myself, and if you're interested in selling your properties within the next 3 to 5 years, I'd love to stay in touch with you. See, that's not a hard sell. At that point, they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna keep this guy in mind in case I ever, want to sell. So that's been a huge thing. And then also networking. I literally tell everyone what I do. Everyone. If I'm going to family events, if I'm behind someone at the grocery store and we just get to talking because the line is long, literally like tell everyone what you do. I mean, we in 2021, this ain't old school like how it was back in the day where you don't figure out who the real millionaires is or who is really doing things. Like we passed that age. Like now you have to use networking and social media and just telling people what you do to your advantage, right? It's all about like collaboration and just sharing what you do nowadays. That's how you get things done. So I mean that's just what I believe in. And I mean it don't have to come across like you bragging. Just tell people. Because you don't know who's going to help you. You don't know who may get value from what you're currently doing if you ain't sharing it, right? So, I mean, that's a huge key for me. And then also, don't just go to events in Birmingham. Go online. Look up multifamily events. Like, I've been to events in Cali. I've been to events in Miami. I've been to events in Texas. Like, just look up, like, events that you can go and network to. Because, I mean, it's great to network in one market, but the cool thing about, being boots on the ground in Birmingham, you can go to Atlanta, you can go to places like Cali, and you know what the prices are in those places compared to here. We hear it all the time. You have out-of-state investors, they saying, okay, I can't believe a property is that price here. So with you being boots on the ground in Birmingham, you bringing that value to them, right? So I mean, don't be afraid to go outside of Birmingham to events and network with people. That's a huge key to me. But yeah, so these are some things I look at when I'm trying to evaluate if it's a good deal. So obviously, rent disparity. So I like to look to see what the comps are on a property. So some cool websites I like to use, apartments.com, that's my number one. Zillow is pretty neat too. You get a lot of like people that are self-managing property, they be on Zillow. But then basically you can look, if you have a property that you're interested in, and you ask a tenant, like even if you ain't got the financials for it, you go ahead and ask a tenant like, hey, what are you paying for rent? Now you can kind of compare that to what's on apartments.com, what's on Zillow, and see what the rent disparity is, and if it's a huge rent disparity and you think this may be a property that may be beneficial to purchase and do a value add, then go for it, right? Also, the things that you can see. So when you're driving by a property and it's overgrown grass, right? It's a roof that's, it's a 3-tab shingle roof and you got, a bunch of, missing shingles, right? Or like, if you see things that need repair, those are like telltale signs that someone is either managing it wrong or they run out of money. So with me, I'm not afraid of those areas. So it was easy for me to find the deals that people didn't want to get started, right? And then, like we said, on off market, you can find good deals anywhere, right? You can go online. I mean, there's great websites like loopnet.com, that's a cool one, that you can just go on and just try to start looking for properties. And then also, if it's a listed property, you want to see that purchase price and compare it, and run your numbers and see if it's like a value add compared to, what you can rent it for. And then also the number of vacancies. So I would say this, you have to be wary of buying properties that have a high vacancy simply because it's more risk with it, right? So you just have to understand that just because a property has a lot of vacancy doesn't mean it's a good deal, right? So you just have to be cognizant of the amount of risk that's going into it and the amount that you're paying for it. So for example, on the 36 unit deal where I paid $400K for, it was about a week before we closed, and I just did my final inspection, and I noticed one of the units had been vacated, and the tenant who left was probably mad with the landlord. He trashed the unit. And it was and it was a few other things that I hadn't seen when I was doing my initial walkthrough. So I was big on having like a good amount of cash that I would have in a savings account after closing, in case something went wrong. So I literally told him, I mean, this is, you know, probably different now because it's a seller's market, but I was like, hey, if I can't get a repair allowance, I'm probably gonna have to walk from this deal. So I was able to actually get a $24K repair allowance, you know, on my HUD statement to credit towards the purchase price, you know, just from me having that conversation. So, yeah, so I mean, steps of success. So like I said, just digging back, you know, networking. So, you know, telling everyone what you do, going to events out of state. Partnerships is big too. So I mean, just finding people to where you can, you know, they can invest money with you. You know, or if you're the person that want to come into a deal, you can basically just use your talents. Find an off-market deal. Reach out to someone that has that network and say, hey, well, you know, I have this deal. I think it'd be great for us to partner on. So I mean, you just have to be creative. Like if you have the money, you know, or if you don't, like just figure out what your situation is and try to add value. It's all about like value creation. So, and then also like being passionate about what you do. Like I like to say this, but like buy and hold, it's not like a get rich quick. It's not. It's a get rich for sure. You're gonna have that increase in net worth. You're gonna have that cash flow. But like how much time are you willing to put into it to get that? It ain't gonna happen overnight. Like I told y'all, like I looked at probably 500 apartments in Birmingham. And I'm gonna be at like 90 units. So it just takes time. You have to have passion about it. You can't get discouraged after one seller telling you no. Like just continue going at it, right? And then also invest in yourself. Like education is huge. Like books are extremely important. One of my favorite books is Multifamily Millions by David Lindell. I think that's like the Bible, like multifamily. If you guys want to check that out, I mean, it's a great resource. It's not too complicated, and it get to, you know, the meat and potatoes, like literally what you need to start evaluating a deal. So that's like one of my favorite books to read. So if y'all want any other books, read that one first, and then, you know, just hit me up on social media or text me or something and ask for more recommendations. But you don't really need a bunch of information, right? Because analysis paralysis is real. Y'all know about it. Like if you're trying to wholesale, fix and flip, and buy and hold at the same time, I mean, some people probably can do it. I'm not that guy. Like if I chew gum and walk, I probably would fall, right? So it's really important, you know, to just try to hone in and focus on one thing. So like check out that book, like read it, and once you know,
what's the name of the book again, please?
Multifamily Millions by David Lindell. So it's a blue cover book, and it should say like how to reposition property for profits. There you go. Yeah, there you go. So that's what I like, man. Just taking action, right? That's what it's all about. And then also, you know, allow for failure. Like it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to run into situations in your project, but it's what you do when you purchase it that's setting you up to get over those hurdles. Make sure to have enough repair reserve, right? So if you go into a project that has a lot of capex, make sure to have enough money, you know, in a savings account in case something goes wrong. Don't just rely on the cash flow or your pro forma to, fill in. You need to have that money up front. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. Man, this is a delight for me. This is my social media. You know, if anyone want to reach out to me. But yeah, I really appreciate it, and I'm gonna open it up to questions. If anyone had any questions in the room.
Are you currently taking on limited partners for your deals? Are you syndicating, or are you just doing straight JVs, or what?
Okay, so in the past, you know, I've just done it like with family and friends. Mm-hmm. On this 48 unit deal, we talking about $60K a door, so it's $2.8 million. So right now I'm actually doing a 506B, so that's what it is. So it's open to sophisticated and accredited investors. So for people that's not familiar with those two terms, a sophisticated investor is someone that you have a pre-existing relationship with, or you've talked about with real estate in the past. Accredited investor is someone that has a net worth of over $1 million. I think if it's a single family, if it's one person, they have to make like $200,000 a year. I think if it's a family, they have to make $300,000. So that's a requirement. But yeah, to answer your questions, yeah, I'm looking at bringing in LPs on this deal.
Awesome.
So I have a lot which has a small single-family unit in there, and the lot is pretty big. Is it worth converting into a multifamily? How do I go about it?
How big is the lot, you said?
I mean, I can easily build a multifamily unit, but I don't know the restrictions or how that can be done.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, just keeping it straight up, like I haven't done any development, So I don't think I'll be in the best place to advise you on that. But yeah, I mean that's probably something where you have to do like your research and see as far as like permitting, you know, how much is it gonna cost, what's the time frame on it, if the city would allow like for you to convert it. So those are things that I would start looking at as far as if it would be a good opportunity for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I had a question about, you brought up about property management. Did you hire your own or did you go through a company?
When I first started out, or like today?
Both.
Okay. So when I first started out with my duplex and my 4-unit, I just self-managed those ones. When I bought the 36-unit, I went with a third-party management company, and I did that for about a year or so. And then during COVID, I just saw where that wasn't working, so I just leveraged my experience from working on things from a smaller scale to where I was able to convert into my own property management company. So right now, I have a full-time property manager. I have a maintenance tech that lives on the properties. So you just have to get creative with how you're compensating. Like if you don't have the money to put XYZ towards payroll, like what do you have, right? So I'm all about like just trying to figure out what can I provide. So for example, on my maintenance tech, I just give him, he gets a unit for free, and then also he gets paid on work orders and hourly on certain jobs. And then the property manager I have, I've just paid her the same thing that I was paying the third party management company. Just keep it fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the back.
Mind if I ask you a couple questions about your deal?
Yeah, sure.
And then I got before that. So yeah, the book, Dave Lindahl. Yeah, I'm actually one of his students. So
oh, that's what's up. He bring the fire, huh?
yeah. Because actually he ready to have an event in Texas on
Okay.
UP, and it's ultimate partner. So one thing I like about Dave is that he allows you to network with other students. So it's not like you by yourself. So that's a big piece. But so how did you find your deal?
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
All of them have been off market.
Mm-hmm.
Like what I said, shotgun approach. I mean, everything you could think of, whether it be driving for dollars, whether it be just going on the tax assessor website if you have like a parcel or an address. Literally everything, bro. Like I don't, I'm not afraid to do the work, right? So it's all about like what are you comfortable doing? I've driven countless apartments. I reach out to the owners. I'm not, so it's just being creative. I don't have like a sophisticated software or skip tracing. It's really just like old school, how I do things. Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
So you said your numbers were 60,000 in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are your returns?
Yeah.
What would it be like your debt coverage ratio and like your returns?
Yeah, sure. So as far as like debt coverage, so it's gonna meet what the bank is looking for. So on this deal, with it being cash flowing like it is, I'm going for agency debt. So we're currently looking at a Freddie loan, 10-year fix, 30-year M, 3-year IO. So as far as like investor returns, it's gonna do average 8.5 cash on cash. It's a 70% equity multiple at year 5, 90% at year 6, average annualized return of 14%.
That's good.
So,
yeah. So how long are you gonna hold it?
My performance for 5 years. So I mean, those returns are at an exit of 5 to 6 years. But if it all depends on the LPs, right? And if it's alignment of interest. So I mean, if we get our best returns, or where the market is at 5, if that's not the best time to sell, we may wait until like year 6 or year 7 to sell. But I'm going in with like a 5-year performer, and that's what the returns are based on.
What kind of cash on cash return is your LPs getting? I heard you say 5% earlier. Are you getting up any higher than that?
Well, okay, so so it's a preferred return.
Okay.
So it's a 6% pref, and it's a monthly distribution, and then it's a promote after that. So it goes from 6% pref and then 70-30 split, and the 8.5 average is considering the pref and then any promote after that. And it may do better than that. So like as far as my underwriting, I'm extremely conservative with how I do things. I usually overshoot my numbers, so that's just how I've been able to stay out of trouble on deals. Like I'm gonna just kind of give you like what it can do worst case scenario, and you know, if it does better than that, then that's just what it does. But like that.
Will you be were you was like scared when you start like when you did like the 36 whatever about the area, the
Yeah.
like crime, I'm like you know,
Yeah.
you like freak out.
Well, I mean, I live in Fairfield. You know what I'm saying? I live in one of my properties. I mean, it's, for me, I mean, I've been, so my management office is actually at the property. I mean, with the area I haven't had any, like,
Troll.
no. But, I mean, I've been really hands-on. I'm not the guy that's gonna manage stuff from, you know, arm's length. I'm the guy that's pulling up and knocking on your door if you're paying rent. That's just me. That's my comfort zone. I'm not saying everyone gotta be like that, right? But, I mean, do you always wanna stay in D and C class properties? No. Like the one I'm buying right now, I mean, I'm paying the most I've ever paid for a property. I mean, it's 2.8 million, 60K a door, you know, so it's all about getting started. I had to figure out how to get in the game. And at the time, I had to ask myself, like, what are you more uncomfortable with? Having to go and work a regular job, or not being able to pay bills from cash flow, or getting a deal that's highly discounted and setting yourself up to increase my net worth, you know, and to get cash flow to keep doing this thing. So, I mean, I like to do a pros and cons list with every deal I look at, right? So I just look at, okay, pros, cash flow, buying it deeply discounted. I can take my net worth, you know, from 6 to 7 figures, right? Cons, it's a bad area, right? And then I just weigh them and I say, okay, well, I'm good with this. I'll take the chance.
One more. What's your mainly goal?
Make maintenance call?
Yeah, your main goal right now.
Oh,
or-
main goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have like a unit count goal, like how people, you know, I mean, there's people that say, I mean, I'd like to have like 5,000 units, something like that. But like with me, I just like to keep things simple. So I'm like, hey, if I can do 2 to 3 deals a year, I don't care like what, you know what I'm saying? I prefer to go like 30 plus units, but if I can do 2 to 3 deals a year, I'm good. Because with goal setting, you got to be cognizant too, because I mean, it's good to set like high goals, but like, what if you ain't even close to them? Then you start getting discouraged. So you may have like, it's good to have that long-term goal, but then have some like short-term goals that you can check off on the list. All right, I did this. All right, like me, I like snowball effect. I mean, it's all about like keeping that motivation going. Like when I had that refinance and I took my girl, we got something to eat from it was Cheesecake Factory. I was like, okay, I like this. Let me go find something else. so you know, and then the 48 unit deal, I ended up getting that under contract about 2 weeks after that. So it's all about that momentum. Like it may be some small goals that you can start checking off. Like, hey, read that book that Eddie was talking about at the meetup. Okay, cool, I did that. All right, go to a networking event in Atlanta or Cali or like Florida. All right, I did that. Like, reach out to some people, right? And then you can start checking those stuff out, and you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. I mean, I'm not a guy. I haven't been doing this for more than 10 years. I started back in 2016, right? But I've been doing it full time. That's really the difference. Like, I already did my 10,000 hours, so it's just all about just keeping going. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
I know Joe was up. Yeah, what's up?
Yeah. 2 questions for you. In terms of a percentage of rent, how much do you think your repair costs are on your D-class property?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it all depends. So that one was like a hard money loan, so I wasn't really looking at it on that metric.
Well, I mean like monthly. Like just
you
random
mean like
things. Not-
operating expenses? Like
Yeah.
like probably like around 55% of
Right.
my revenue.
That's all your expenses?
All my expense. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, operating expenses.
Yeah.
That's and then you have below the line, so you got your debt, interest,
Right.
all that kind of stuff, and then
Sure.
repair reserve if you got that. I do my repair reserve below the line, so, but usually it's around like 55. And I would say this, I don't pay water on any of my properties right now.
Okay.
So we all stay here. We know how Birmingham Waterworks is, right? So
Mhm.
that probably, if we were going in, it probably would have been closer to like 58 to possibly even over 60 on certain properties. But so far everything is sub-metered. So average is around like 50 to 55.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And then what kind of rent growth are you kind of underwriting for?
On this
In terms of
one?
year over year. What kind of
Oh,
rent growth?
okay. I mean, Usually it's around like 3%, but I know it's a ton of rent disparity with the current deal I have. His rent's at $695. Literally right across the street, they're renting 2 ones at $860. So I mean, it's a lot more
Yeah, so you
rent
gotta have
disparity.
Read-
So I
read the
don't.
bump.
Yeah. So I mean, I think my first year I have it at around like I think 18 and 20%, and then it start to go to 7 for year 2 and 3, and then it just trickles out to like 3%. Because I know I can get those without doing a lot of major repairs. Would it already being 100% occupied, and me already shopping my comps, I know, okay, even if someone were to come out, we can absorb this unit without having to incur a lot of repair costs, and I could probably challenge like what the property is doing across the street.
Right.